Episode 39 of Uncommon Conversations. Sorry for the late start. Had some family stuff, and we're getting ready to get into it. Today I have a really cool guest on, a guy who is a communist, is the guy behind the page Commie Posting on Instagram. We've gone back and forth quite a bit, and it's always been very substantive, very informative, and I feel like because we started from such different it's been the most in-depth and sort of the longest lasting conversation just through Instagram that I've had so far. We've talked more than I've talked with anyone else, and it's because it's been good and engaging and helps me sharpen the blade to represent capitalism. He'll be coming in soon, and we'll get after it. Hello, sir.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. I can see you too.
Good to know. Your audio is being a little choppy for me, so I wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Before I came in.
Fine. No worries.
Cool.
Well, yeah, man, I appreciate you coming on here. It's been a long time coming. Your name is Steven, correct?
That's my name on Instagram, yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. If you would please give us a brief introduction on your personal political journey and what you're sort of wanting to get out of this conversation for us, as well as for anyone that might be watching.
All right. So I wasn't really interested in politics. I'm mid-20s until Bernie Sanders started running for office, and I thought a lot of his ideas were really interesting and engaging. And so that's kind of what hooked me in. And then I started paying more attention to like YouTube and just politics in general. Obviously the 2016 elections were like kind of crazy for that to be your first election to like vote in and participate in at all. Like you're just thrust into it from like everything being boring all the time to like the craziest shit imaginable. But so yeah, and then I got more into, so I like Bernie Sanders, and I've opened my mind up more to, socialism and communism. I certainly IRL wouldn't call myself a communist. I'm from a red state. So, even just optically, like if I were to go around saying that, like that's just a non sequitur for like anybody. But the way I look at it, so my name is
going
Commie
around
Posting.
in San Francisco with a MAGA hat on. It's just something you don't do out of pure logic.
Yeah, you're not going to win anyone over to your ideas doing that. But so my name on Instagram is Commie Posting, and so my motivation behind doing that is that it more or less informs the nature of my content, just in theme. But to any degree that I would say that I would like espouse communist beliefs. So like communism in principle is like a stateless, classless society with no currency. It's kind of everybody holds hands, sings kumbaya. And so then you've got like Marxist Leninists who would say, you need a state to kind of facilitate something akin to that. And so that's more Soviet Union type stuff, which isn't exactly what I would endorse by any means. But so I think you could certainly make an argument that if you believe that humans could one day live in like space colonies of a couple hundred people and just get along without too much hierarchy, I think you can make an argument that that alone would make you a communist if you believe that humans could get along and abolish currency and hierarchy, that arguably you're a communist. But so to the degree that I would agree with communism, I think that's like a future worth working towards, whether it's possible or not. So, in the immediate short term, I like democracy, workplace democracy, decommodification of healthcare, and basic necessities, education, stuff like that. But yeah, that's about my deal. I made an Instagram page just to shitpost memes and have some interesting conversation. It's been a good time.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I really like that you sort of introduced it as a, I think, true to the original intellectual vision of an idealistic, what if future. And you interestingly immediately highlighted a lot of traditional hierarchical structures of various sorts, or even an attempt at a weird hybrid, but government and essentially, nation states or governments as some sort of a mechanism by which some people have tried to bring about this future that you think is basically a hope for a future where we can transcend materialism on some level, where we can transcend being preoccupied and obsessed, and like the vision of many technologists and futurists and people warning about automation is that production will essentially become laborless, which means it's both extremely cheap in some sense, but there's no longer a social contract between the capitalist and the labor class. Because if you don't need to hire another human being or pay them to live in order to keep producing what you personally need, well, then you have this weird giant gap in society, and there's going to be some inflection point. Now, we've staved it off a little bit in different ways. Creativity will stave it off in different ways. And then a principle I like to follow economically is labor scarcity, which maintains a macroeconomic value of labor that isn't like systemically being undermined by any other macroeconomic forces. That is another way to keep things sort of in this general direction and vision. But I sort of gave you some shit in some of our conversations about your willingness to associate with the name, because in part because what it is tied to and associated with is both very immoral, structurally, morally, systemically, like the way they actually went about setting up their systems themselves were immoral, and then there was lots of atrocities that were committed because people, a select few, were given not just material wealth over other people, but power, direct, actual government power, use of force over other people. So the idea of an anarchist or a communist anarchism type of philosophy where it's like, no, it's a future without the state, but where we fundamentally take care of each other and work for the community, or where, it's an idealistic thing. And I think what's interesting is I think some people are pre-programmed to like that, to want that, to have that kind of yearning and be willing to work for the collective. And I think other people are just born very differently. It's very much agreeable versus disagreeable in the personality traits. And those disagreeable people, those disagreeable people are going to be more prone to their own needs and wants and their immediate need. And so where I break off with the sort of systems of applying these things to try to get to the ideal, which is sort of what we're all after, I think, politically, and what you sort of highlighted in your intro. We need to, on a certain level, operate with the system that we have, what has been proven to work, what actually works. And whenever you give the state too much power over individuals, it seems to go pretty bad. So I sort of lost track of my point, honestly. I apologize for that.
No, it's essentially your intro. It's your intro / rebuttal to my intro. Soft rebuttal, I guess. So
now I remember where I was going. I forgot how, because I'm usually focused on specific things. This was pretty big picture. So in capitalism, or what my version, so you did a good job of sort of defining communism, or at least your vision of it, your view of it. So I'll try to define capitalism from my perspective, and why I think debating over like pro or anti-capitalist things is sort of null and void. capitalism, technically speaking, is any system of, like you said, currency or capital.